Hello everyone, you are all welcome to lecture number 1068, and today's topic is the development of emotional brain in child, that is under neuroparenting. When we are talking of emotional brain, means that the development of this emotional brain is in the architecture of the brain, and this emotional brain is very sensitive to child in the sense that the child's feeling and strong emotion, reaction, action is all determined by the development of emotional brain. And when we are talking of brain, broadly speaking, we can divide into two sections. One section that is prefrontal cortex that is front side, like this side, that is your the brain which is responsible of reasoning, thinking, decision making, and it takes up to 23 to 24 years to fully develop. And in center this side, here it is, that is your emotional brain, that is hypothalamus, amygdala, and then that is your the system that is called limbic system, and amygdala and limbic system, that is responsible of your emotional brain development. And I think 90% of the parents, they don't recognize the well-being of the emotional status or emotional behavior or development of emotional brain of their child. They are only busy in looking after the social academic competence of his or her child. That is the serious matter. We have to look, we have to understand, that is under neuroparenting, that is emotional brain development of your child. The reason is that your child is in limbic system of emotion, means he cannot control. And most of the parents, they fail to understand, because the infant and child of 1 to 2 year old, they are always comfortable in their comfort zone, and if their comfort zone is disturbed, they show emotion. And that emotion, because by that time their emotional brain is that much developed to show the anger, to show the reaction, to show the action, to show the struggle. That is called emotional feeling of the child. And the best example is that if suppose nanny or anybody who is taking care of child, even a mother, if the child starts crying, weeping and angry, it is his or her emotion, and that shows that child is not in her or his comfort zone. There is something wrong, means either the child is hungry or some pain or some sickness. And by that time, the child's reasoning and thinking brain, that is called prefrontal cortex or peripheral cortex, is not developed. It takes up to 24 to 25 years to develop. So only the child can express his or her feeling by emotion. And if he is or she is not in comfort zone, they also show the anger. So in that case, you might have noticed that any nanny or any caretaker, once she is just holding the child's emotion will be cooled down. because it will be his feeling that now he is in comfort zone. So that is very important to understand. And secondly, you might have noticed the children, they fight with other children not to share their toys or any personal belonging, and they will start crying and they will go on crying unstopped. That is their limbic system. Means at that very moment the child's emotional brain is activated. That is called limbic system. Very strong feeling, and there is no reasoning and thinking at that time, because by that time in the age group of 3, 4, 5, 6 years, the wiring of the reasoning thinking brain is not developed, is still underdeveloped and is insufficient to make any decision of that action. That's why there will be a struggle between two children. And one child may not, emotionally he is so much excited and so much strong feeling that he will not like to surrender his or her any personal belonging to other child. And during that time, parents should understand, they should not shout, they should not say anything bad, because they should know that this child is lacking, is having deficiency of reasoning and thinking. That's why I used to always say, don't allow your emotion to supersede your reasoning and thinking. This means that even if you are mature, once by any situation or by any circumstances, if you are flare up, you are very angry, you start shouting, it means now your limbic system is active. Your emotional brain is active, because you have two type of brain. And development of two type of brain is going on inside your this head. One is emotional brain and other one is the brain for reasoning and thinking and decision making. And that is your this frontal cortex, prefrontal cortex here. And that one is not developed up to even, it is slow. In the development of that, your brain portion, the wiring and neuron cells, multiplication. But in the case of emotional brain, I have already told you in the last lecture that it is so fast in the multiplication of cell division, neuron, that up to 250,000 neuron cells multiply in 1 minute. So emotional brain of a child to demonstrate any feeling is already developed. Child can express the feeling. Also one example is, if in the night the infant, maybe 1, 2-year-old, starts crying, means his or her comfort zone is disturbed, because they don't want to sacrifice their comfort zone, they are happy. In case if any disturbance in their comfort zone, either by sickness or by triggering the emotion, making the child angry, means even if a child is feeling hungry, he will be angry, and in that anger his only thing is crying. So if child is crying, means maybe wet bed after urination, or maybe he is feeling very cold or very hot. So I mean, in the case of neuroparenting, the parents should be smart enough to understand and to recognize that my child's frontal cortex, peripheral cortex or prefrontal cortex is not developed. It will take at least 24 years for reasoning and thinking. So they should not expect that type of maturity, and is not up to that extent. After that, it is your emotion. With that emotion, even if you are going to school at the age of 6, 7, still your the brain of reasoning and thinking is not developed. Maybe 30-40% developed. Still up to more than 50 or 60% is under developing stage. So once you are going to meet with your classmate, your emotional feeling plays very important role. You have to understand, the child has to understand his or her own emotion first, and then they share his or her emotion with other classmate by interaction. And the emotional brain development in a normal way is only when they interact with different experience, circumstances, environment will make them stable, and slowly they will be having that is good behavior, and all these their behavior, action, reaction is still all out of emotional brain of the child, of the infant. So that is the main thing, and here I have given you just rough sketch. I am not artist. Here actually this is prefrontal cortex, and this prefrontal cortex, this area, this is the area of brain of thinking, of reasoning, of decision making, and still it is developing. That's why in adolescent age or very young age, people say that no, he is not yet developed to take any decision, because his brain, frontal cortex, is not yet mature to take mature decision. Then it comes, that is thalamus, hypothalamus, and between that there is pituitary gland, and after pituitary gland there is amygdala. Amygdala is actually limbic system of emotional brain. So here this area is for your emotional brain, that is in the center of the head, and frontal is your decision making, reasoning and thinking. So here what is amygdala? Amygdala, it is responsible of processing of emotional feeling. So here amygdala is the place where your emotional feeling is processed, and that feeling is called, that is your limbic system of brain, and limbic system of brain means it is emotional brain, and emotional feelings like anger, fear, or I call it mental noise. So children, the infant, they actually get mental noise, irritated, angry, crying, and continuously crying, and they are not listening. There is no listening and thinking, so parents are irritated. Sometimes even the caretaker or nannies, they are frustrated, but no, they should try to understand the child. That no, he has no reasoning and thinking, because that portion of the brain of that child is yet to develop, is in a very primitive stage, is insufficient to control that emotion, that feeling of the infant. That is very important of neuroparenting portion of the child. Then what is limbic system of brain? Limbic system is the part of brain involving with our emotional response. All emotional response or feeling of a child or infant is responsible of limbic system, and that limbic system is actually emotional brain. And then response, especially when it comes to behavior, is needed for our survival. Survival is because of emotional behavior. And nowadays, if you remember, people are talking about intelligence, very intelligent. So there is one intelligence common, and other one we call it emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence. All the new terms are coming because of the more and more research on neuron and brain function. And your survival, what I am saying survival, is taken care by your emotion. Either you kill or you run. That is your emotion. If you are going to fight, there is no reasoning and thinking. You are in anger, means total emotion. That's why in our religion, Islam, it is said that if you are very angry, means at that moment your limbic system is very much activated and it has superseded your reasoning and thinking. So please don't take any decision, it will be wrong. Sit, cool down, take one glass of water, give at least 30 minutes time. When you are normal, your that activated limbic system of emotional brain is controlled, only then your reasoning thinking will start. So to understand your limbic system, the emotional brain of child, of infant, even school going children, is very, very important in neuroparenting. Then hypothalamus, what is that? It is responsible of processing of control of unconscious functions, unconsciousness. Actually, brain is a beauty of nature. Nature means God, Allah, whatever you believe. Same carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, they are combined together. Once they are element form, they are non-living. They combine together, they become amino acid. That amino acid by peptide bond, they become protein, polypeptide. And that polypeptide, when they start branching in cell division, one protein group goes to develop the brain cells. They are also protein. And that brain cell, they have emotion, they have thinking, they have consciousness. Lot of things are there. So this is, it's a very, very complex and interesting thing that same elements in the elemental state, they are nothing, they don't have any consciousness, they don't have any feeling. But once they combine and they become living, from non-living to living, and then when they have gone to multiply in the form of brain cell, neuron, then they start thinking, they start showing feeling, they start showing emotion, they start showing decision making. So all this, that is called mental level, mental health. So mental is virtual, thinking, all those things, but brain is spongy mass of 600 gram, all the neurons. So that is about the unconscious functions. It is deep in the brain, acts as your body's smart control coordinating center. The main function is to keep your body in a stable state. That is the main function of your hypothalamus, to make your body stable, influencing your automatic nervous system. The role of hypothalamus is it will influence your automatic nervous system. Reflex action is by this hypothalamus. Then prefrontal cortex, I have already told a lot. It is the part of the brain responsible for making decision, logical thinking, and self-control. It is fully developed only after the age of 25, around 25, 26. But if some people who are always emotional, means they go by emotion, means still their reasoning and thinking part of brain is suppressed, is underdeveloped, because their always emotion is superseding their decision making and thinking. That is very, very dangerous. I am repeating, again I am repeating. Once you are working somewhere, professor, lecturer, professional, engineer, architect, even governor, head of the state, whatever, human behavior, please don't allow your emotion, your emotional brain to supersede your pre-cortex brain, that is your reasoning and thinking. Prefrontal cortex should not be superseded by your limbic system. Your emotions should not supersede your reasoning and thinking. And if it happens, once you are habitual of that always your emotion is superseding, then always you will be disturbed, your decision making will be disturbed, and you will be always in mental tension. So control, that is the control system of the brain. Control your emotion. That is very important, even for adult. I am talking of child here. Then frontal cortex, that is prefrontal cortex. It is the part of the brain responsible for making decision, logical thinking, and self-control. That's why logical thinking is not there for a small child. when that child is fighting for his or her toy, or is fighting for something, or crying or weeping continuously, because they don't have any logic of thinking so that they can control. Is all that is called emotional feeling is very strong. What is tantrum? Tantrum is the action of very strong feeling of your emotional brain, that is called tantrum, which is not controlled. That is when infant or child become overwhelmed by situation, they may manifest their helplessness. When they feel helpless, overwhelmed, that is tantrum, throw tantrum, and it is child's big feeling. Tantrum is child's big feeling, and the limbic system, and that is your emotional brain. Child has only emotional lens or emotional eye to see. He doesn't have the eye of logic thinking. So I have already discussed these points, but I have written here so that it is in documented form for recording purpose. So number 6, during a tantrum, the amygdala in limbic system is called emotional brain. Your limbic system, amygdala, that is called emotional brain, and is activated, and the peripheral prefrontal cortex is still insufficiently developed to allow child to have control over their reactions. I have already discussed all this, that by that time the emotional brain limbic system is developed, but your prefrontal cortex, that is the brain of reasoning, thinking and decision making, is not developed. That's why the reaction, action and feeling of the child is not under control. Their reaction. For this reason, trying to reason with a child during tantrum. So once he is in the state of tantrum, is very strong feeling and emotion, where his limbic system is very much activated. Don't try to reason and all those things, because child is not ready to listen. The reason is that that reasoning thinking brain portion is not yet developed, is insufficient to understand. That is child's big feeling will never work, because child cannot think logically at that moment. Number 7, there is need for control. It is the basic need of human brain, that is autonomy of the brain. We call autonomy of the university, and here I am calling autonomy of the brain. That is also very important for child to have the autonomy of their emotional brain. Control and autonomy over a long period of time causes child to refuse to cooperate in power struggle. So child for a long time in their autonomy of that emotional brain control will be having a lot of struggle of the power. Number 8, child needs a decision-rich environment that gives child the opportunity to experience autonomy and make age-appropriate choice. So it is the duty of the parent or caretaker or nanny to understand that child's autonomy of the emotional brain, and according to that she should try to control, and child is given the opportunity and experience so that it is appropriate to his or her age of choice, because you are treating like a mature brain, but it's not like that. is not having that peripheral cortex or cortex, that is your called is not sufficient, that is prefrontal cortex is not sufficient to understand. So the brain of a small child is not able to fully understand the concept of sharing. So that is, I have noticed in many houses, when two children are fighting, one is holding, other one wants to get it. That child is not having any feeling of empathy, sympathy, whatever it is, or to helping nature, because that brain is not working, is in that tantrum, means it is limbic emotional feeling, strong feeling, not to give. So in that case, don't push, don't beat, don't scold the child. Rather than tell them it's okay, no problem, you hold on, I will give something else to other child. So that is sharing the feeling of empathy and needs of other child, and control own emotion will not understand. That child will not understand to control his or her own emotion. That child will not understand the empathy or the need of other child. So in that case, in that circumstances, children need guidance and encouragement from the parents, from caretaker, from nannies, not to be forced or threatened when do not want to share his or her toy or any item. So that's why I said in the beginning, please try to understand the well-being, your emotional well-being of your child. You are taking care of only his or her social competence and well-being of the examination in primary or secondary school, not the emotional well-being. So that is very important. With this, I will stop. So, wish you all the best to all parents to take care of the emotional well-being of your child. Thank you very much for watching the lecture.